So basically this chapter is kind of about the if statements, the if-else statements, and the if-else-if statements in there. So we're going to go through all of that. It touches on Booleans and some other things. So let's go through that here. So again, this is the same thing. And again, this is the formatting the numeric output through set precision and fixed. So basically a selection is you make a decision in here. A Boolean is something that evaluates to either true or false. And I use Booleans all the time to either for error checking or to see if you're getting good input. So we're going to be talking about that more. Again, single alternative selection, true path, false path. You can see that. So let's go through. There's the alien. I don't know what this stuff is in the background. I guess he's making something because he has a table saw. So maybe he's building a spaceship. I've never seen an alien that had a little door there, but I guess they do. So we'll go through that in here. And again, here is an if-else and end-if. So basically, and then there really is no end-if statement. Yeah, you can put it in, but it really ends with a bracket. So basically, you're saying, okay, if this is true, then execute these statements. Otherwise, execute these statements. But you don't have to have an else in there. You can just have an if. For instance, you could say, if today is Tuesday, see out, happy Tuesday. So again, we have, these are the symbols in here for the flow charts in here. So you can review that. So we have else in here, if, else is optional. This is if there's a false, if you want something to happen, if the condition is not true. So, for instance, if you're checking if something is odd or even, you can go if the number modulus 2 equals 0, that's the if condition, then you'll put see out, this is even, else see out, it's odd. And then you need to end it with the blocks, and I'll show you more on that in a bit, because there's different ways of doing the same thing. So here's an example here, if condition one statement. You do not need brackets if there's just one statement. However, I recommend it because if you put in a second statement, you're liable to get some unpredictable results, and it's a logic error. If you want more than one statement to execute, you must put in the brackets. Because if you don't put in the brackets, what will happen is, say there was statement 2 here, if condition, and it's false, well, it won't execute one statement, but it'll execute statement number 2. So be very careful. That's why I always recommend putting in the brackets anyway. So again, here's the one condition, multiple, multiple, and again, here you go, multiple in here. So here is what I put in here, and in here to end up. That will help you when you're missing a bracket. You can see the more of these things you do, the more brackets you're going to have. So then here is the infamous less than or equal. So here you would be doing, so like, let's just say you're checking to make sure that a number is not greater than 100. So you can say if the number is less than or equal to 100, or you could do the numbers greater than 100. So you have all different kinds. This double equal sign means like if A equals B, you need to put in the two brackets, the two equal signs. If you don't, it'll assign B to A. So if you put in if A equals B, what'll happen is B will get assigned to A in there. So that's why you need the double equal signs in here. Again, we talk about this. So, and then this is not equal to if something. So here is your precedence in here. Really don't have to worry too much about precedence in here because you're going to be using brackets in there. Again, if statements require to be in parentheses, you have no choice. The compiler will give you a nasty message in here. So, but you'll need that if you're using an or an and, meaning two things that you're checking. So if you're going to check to see if you want to input a number between 1 and 10, you're going to be checking to make sure that it's greater than or equal to 1 and less than or equal to 10. So both conditions must think. So we'll see that again. And here is if quantity is less than 50, A is greater than or equal to 20, on hand equals target. If you did not put in the second equal, whatever's in target would get put into on hand. So here is order of operator preference, and we can talk about that at another time, but notice how the very first thing is you don't have any multiplication, so it's going to go left to right in here. So that's why you really always want to use your parentheses. So what I would do in this one, I would put a parenthesis before the 7, and a parenthesis after the 8, parenthesis before the 9, and the 5. It makes it more readable, plus it cuts down on errors. Trust me when I tell you that. So swapping numbers, there is no function that swaps numbers in there. What you have to do, if you want to swap A and B, you have to assign A to a temporary variable, then you have to assign B to A, and then the temporary variable back to B. So that's the only way. There is no swap that I'm aware of. So again, that's more. So let's keep going. Playing the area or circumference. So we're going to do a little program with that real quick when we get done. Boolean is something that's either true or false in there. And technically your if statement is a Boolean. It's going to be either true or false. Here is your and operator and your or operator. So this means and. So if you go, so something, both of these must be true, and or means one or the other must be true. And we can skip that. Here's more information on that. So here we have if age equals 21 or age is less than 55, it's going to be true. Now remember, when you're programming your assignments, make sure that you put a parentheses before A and after the 1, and before A and after the 5. And remember, this is an or. So if this was an and, this would never be true because it can't be both 21 and greater than 55. So in here, so this is quantity is less than 100 and price is less than or equal to 1035. So both of these must be true for it to work. And if you look at this, notice without parentheses how confusing this can be. So just make sure that you're using your parentheses and you never have to worry about it. So this is the and. Both of them must be true, otherwise it's false. With the or, only one has to be true. Or they can, of course, both be true. Let's see. Okay, this is just more of the same. The single quote here is a character. And you're going to use data validation. Boolean, I use them all the time for data validation. So we have here area, circumference. So we can do one of those in here again. Summary of operators. So more stuff to confuse you. And then these are more tests in here. It tells you how it will be. Now remember how things work in here. So this is going to take precedence over the less than sign. And that's why it's really important that you do the parentheses. So we know that 80 is going to be divided by 2 first because that's division in there. And then multiplication gets done. So you can look at that. 2 upper and 2 lower are part of IO stream. They used to be required that you had to have C type or the string function in here. That just converts everything to uppercase or lowercase. It also can be used to capitalize, and like if you're doing your first name and they type in all lowercase, it can be used to capitalize the first letter. So I'll show you how to do that. And to upper, so you're checking to see if it's Y. The reason why you want to do that, if it says enter yes or no, if they capitalize Y, it's one thing, lowercase. This saves you the trouble of having to check both. And that works on a character. We're not going to worry about scientific notation right now. Formatting, okay, so here we have the fixed in here, and you're going to see the IO manip work in here. So let's see when we finally get to an example. So set precision, if you want to set it to do decimal places, you're going to use set precision and in parentheses a 2. Make sure that you use cout fixed first. And you can put them on a separate or the same one. And you must have the IO manip in there as well. So we have in here. So notice that we're doing fixed and it displays it. By putting the fixed, you don't ever have to worry about anything being in scientific notation. So if I wanted to set this to 2 decimal places, I would put cout, then the fixed, then again here the extraction and set precision 2, and then rate, and it would just put 5.90. Now remember, it doesn't change the value, it just displays it differently. So here's your set precision, how it works, and you can put the set precision in here. Now you only need one fixed, so you could have 3 different things and have one display in 2 decimal places, one in 3, and one in whatever you want in here. So this displays that.
I'm going to interrupt you just for a moment.
No, please feel free to.
You said if you have the set precision set to 2 decimal places, but it still maintains the value of 4 or 5 decimal places.
Yeah, it doesn't change the value. It only changes the way it's displayed.
So if that value is used in future equations, it'll maintain the 5 or 6 or 7 decimal places.
Sure, it just displays. Now, it looks a lot better than to display it. Now, we'll round it off. Like if you did the set precision 2, this is going to display as 10.0. No, actually, it display as.
But it'll still go down to the 5th or 6th decimal place.
Yeah, what exactly? That is a great question. Whatever the value is does not get changed. If you're familiar with format and you format something to number in 2, well, it doesn't change anything. It just sets the way it's displayed. So let's see, summary. All right, so that takes care of all of this.